What's up everyone, welcome to Kai's channel. Today we'll be reviewing this, the Genesic GaoGaiGar. Now it took a while for this to get to me and I thought I actually lost it in the shipment, but here we are reviewing this. Now it's also a good thing that we're reviewing this because there will be a option set that will come out later for this set. So definitely be good to see what it is that we're given. So without wasting any more time, let's get started. Now just like all new brands, I'll actually cover a little bit about the box before we go into it. As you can see right now, the box is actually pretty square, and then you got the picture of the Genesic GaoGaiGar right there in the front, but the picture is actually very blurry. It looks like a low quality picture enlarged it to fit into the box, so definitely not something that I would expect for something this expensive, and from a brand from Hobby Japan, also AmaKuni. And then I'm not sure you can see also, you can actually see the little lines on the cardboard. That's definitely not looking very professional. So right now, the first impression is that the box is really poorly made. Now the side, there's actually nothing much to it. It's a continuation from the front as well. And then at the back, you have also the Genesic GaoGaiGar, not what we used to on the middle build where there's different posing or selling points that they're trying to show. It's just the GaoGaiGar itself right here. And on the left side, it says Waganawa Genesic. And then you have the gold G right there. That looks pretty nice right there, but not sure why the back photo quality is actually a lot better than the front. That's very weird to me. Alright, let's open this up. So if you open it, you can see that there is the words here. It says Yuki aru chikai to tomoni. But as you can see on the side, it's already peeling off the top layer of it. So definitely it's not looking good right now, at least for the box. Now I know this is not a box review, but I just want to tell you guys just how poorly this box was made. Because for some of you who ordered online, if you got this, you might think that you actually got deceived by the sellers because it looks actually like a bootleg just from the box itself. So that's why I'm trying to relay this message to you guys so that don't be alarmed when you got this because of the quality of the box. Just make sure that the content inside is correct. So coming right out of the box is the first layer. Now the first layer, as you can see right now, is the GaoGaiGar itself right there, nice and big. The strong metallic red, it's already showing right through the box. It's looking very nicely. And then on the right side, you got the hair right there, that's red. Underneath it, it's the Hell and Heaven where the two hands were put together. And then underneath that, I think that's the pack of battery, which I believe it's for the GaoGaiGar for the lighting. And then underneath that, it's the two hands for the Hell and Heaven where the claws are out. And that's it for the first layer. And here we have is the second layer, which is basically the wings and also the tails of the GaoGaiGar, which is also, if you put them together, is the Gadget Gao. And apart from that, there's actually nothing else. And here is the third and last layer, which is basically the base of the display stand with all the accessories on it. It's just basically one big square of display with all holes in it. I was actually expecting there might be a GaoGaiGar logo somewhere that we can put on it, just like what Bandai did with the GX68, but doesn't seem like that's the case for here, which I'm a bit disappointed on this. Alright, let's take them out of the box and put them together. Starting off, we have to go through the accessory first because there's actually not a lot here. We have two sets of Hell and Heaven hands, one separated and one other one that's stuck to each other. So starting off with the separated hands, with the exception of the thumb, the other four fingers are mainly matte black, while the joints are actually gloss black, which if you remember, it is covered by the gadget tool, so it covers the gold part for the finger. You can also see the thumb is actually bright gold, just like it is in the anime, while the inner hands is covered in silver, which so far, just the hand itself, it's looking really great. Now the other sets of hands has the same coloring, but only this one is actually stick together and you can't separate it. Other than the two hands, it actually comes with two LR41 battery, which is for putting in the GaoGaiGar for the lighting. And also lastly, we have this little piece here, which I'll get into a bit later. Now to put in the battery in, it's really simple. Just remove the screw at the back of the GaoGaiGar and slot it in. The positive is on the left side, and while the negative is on the right side. After you put the battery in, close it up, and you'll notice that the on-off button is actually right above that. And this whole back section is where the Gadget Gao is going to be. And will be covered, which will prevent you from switching it on and off until you actually take it off, which creates a great inconvenience. However, this is where this little thoughtful piece that I mentioned before comes into place. This piece actually goes on top of the on and off button so that even if the Gadget Gao is mounted on the back, you can still switch it on and off without needing to remove the entire Gadget Gao, which is very convenient. So I like this little piece and very thoughtful of them to make this. Alright, let's put these all together and see how it is. First, we put the Gadget Gao only just by sticking it onto the back, but there are actually these two locks on the back that you need to move outwards so that the Gadget Gao is locked onto place. Now be careful of doing this because if you don't do it, the whole entire Gadget Gao will fall off. Then next, we put the neck of the Gadget Gao onto the body so it forms the tail. As for the hair, it is actually not connected to the back of the head like most of us thought it would be, but rather on the slot that is near the back of the neck. And there's actually a reason for that, which I'll get into later. And here it is, the Genesic GaoGaiGar, and it looks super amazing. You got the overall is a matte black with a few plates that are actually in gloss black, just like it is with the hands. There are actually two tones of gold here as well. One is the brighter orange gold, which is on the claw of the shoulder, the mane of the galleon, and also the drills on the knees. The other gold, as you can see, it's on the galleon itself and also the antenna on the head, which is a much pale gold. You also have the metallic red that looks super sharp, as well as the silver on the torso, arm, and thigh, but it's actually not exactly a silver, but rather there's a tone of bronze in it. Now that we covered the color, the look of the GaoGaiGar is straight out of the anime and it's very accurate and detailed. You can see on the face you have the sinister look, but yet it's very cool. Also, the blazing hair at the back is gradient from the dark metallic red all the way to a semi-transparent orange, which looks amazing. The drills on the knees on both are actually different from each other that follows the spiral Gao and also the straight Gao. On the bottom of the feet, there are also these green clear parts which seemingly the thruster. So definitely overall it's very detailed and I like it a lot. As for the movement, here are the parts that it can actually move and how well they are. Starting with the head. The head you can actually turn. It's a ball joint. If it wasn't for the hair at the back, it actually will go 360 all the way. And also you can see that the neck, you can actually tilt on the side. And that's not of the ball joint, it's the section on the neck below that. And then also if you tilt the head, you can see that it actually tilts up pretty far on it. So quite a good movement on the head. As for the hair on the back, it actually separates into 3 strands of hairs. Each section is held by a ball joint, so you can actually move and turn. But it's only very limited, as you can see. This one you can actually hardly move because the wing is blocking at the back. So that's basically how much you can move. You can bring it forward a little bit and then also push it back. But that's about it. It's quite limited on the hair, but still, it's somewhat of a movement that you can do. As for the shoulder, by default, it only tilts forward and backward just a bit, but if you yank it out a bit, it actually extends the movement quite a bit. First, push these in because they're on the way. Move this up and then push this in, and then open this up. And you can see that the arms can actually move up. It's actually really tight. And this shoulder piece right here above actually turns as well. But be careful that it actually hits the wings on the back, so just be careful on that. So you have to move the shoulder back up first before you can actually move the arms down, which is kind of annoying. And also you can actually pull this down for the hell and heaven. There's actually the extra joint that you can see if you yank the upper arm down a bit, just like this. And you can see that there's the extra joint that's sticking out right now. It actually extends the arm a lot further for the hell and heaven. Also, this part of the arm can rotate. Now the arms can also go sideways as well, just like this, but remember this piece right here, just to pull it off as far as possible, which is right now. And this is the limitation that it can move. Unless you open this up and then push the shoulder parts on the side, then you can achieve a little bit more, just a really little bit more angle, just like that. And then on the bottom, there's actually two joints, one right here for the elbow, and then one is the lower arm. So you can rotate it to here for the elbow joint, and then the second joint you can actually turn it up all the way to the top. As for the hands, you can actually, it's a ball joint right here that you can turn 360 as well, and then you can see that at the back of the hands you can actually put it up like this all the way to the top, and we all know what this is for, which I'll get into later. But that's not all. The fingers, they're all my favorite movable fingers, where each of the section can be moved. So you can basically do all kinds of gesture. That's really lovely. I always like these kind of movable fingers. It gives you the flexibility that you want. It's very great on this. As for the torso, you can actually tilt left and right, like this, just a little bit though. Now it can also tilt forward as well, but by default it's actually very limited, as you can see right here. But if you close the galleon's mouth and if you flip this piece right here where my middle fingers are upwards, then you can actually achieve a bigger angle when tilting forward, like you see right now, which is really neat. Unfortunately, pulling that piece back out is a little bit tedious and it's quite hard sometimes, so suggest you tilt it back as far as possible like this, and then just try to grab your fingers to pull it out. Obviously without a glove would be easier, like that. Now that it's down, and then open back the gallon's mouth, then you can return it back to its original position, just like this. Also forgot to mention that the torso can actually turn. Not a lot because of the back wing, but you can still turn almost to a 45 degrees. As for the legs, here you can see that it actually moves. Again, just like the shoulder, the joints are very, very tight. So I have to tackle with it, just like you see. For forward, it can go all the way to this, and then obviously backwards, it's similar as well. But just that, you have to be careful on the wings at the back. As for the knees, you can actually bend this down, and you can see it's keeping it together. It didn't move much. And it can go all the way like this, but if you actually push the wheels at the back inwards, you can actually achieve a far more angle like this. The legs can also move sideways as well. If it wasn't for this cover, it should go all the way to horizontal like this. Now as for the feet, these claws right here, each of them can actually move down a bit. Two on the front, one at the back, it can be moved. And then these can turn as well. Just like that. And finally are the wings. Now the wings can move a bit, if you can see. Right now it's currently slanted, but you can actually move all the way parallel to the hand. Just like that. Just a little movement, not too much. And that's it with the movement. I must have to say the movement for this is unlike any other that I've seen. This is top notch in this aspect. However, I must say that some of the joints are very tight to the point that I thought it was glued together. And you have to use quite a force to actually yank it out. Being that said, although the joints are quite tight, all you have to do is just give it a little massage, move it a bit, and it will actually become a little bit more loose. So definitely suggest to do that. Moving on is the gimmicks. Now we cover a little bit on the battery and also the on-off button, but here we actually focus on the lighting of it. Here you can see that the light is on and the galleon's eyes and mouth glows the brightest, but the other part isn't as noticeable comparatively. Now let's switch off the light and see how much it glows in the dark. And here it is, 3, 2, 1. Now you might notice the lighting is actually really dim, other than the fact that the galleon's mouth it's bright, but other than that the head you can't really see any lighting on it, so it's very disappointing. Even though the selling point of this entire thing was the lighting. Not sure why they would put something that it's so dim, yet use it as a selling point. Now although some of them are very difficult to see, but the lighting actually shows for these 6 parts. First the top sensor, then underneath it the G-stone, the eyes of the GaoGaiGar, Galleon's eyes, and Galleon's mouth. And finally, it's the back of the hair, which if you remember, there's actually the slot that we put in. That's where the lighting is coming from. Next we have is the wing, or the gadget feather. So in order to have the wing spread out, you have to hold on to this point that I'm holding and then turn the entire piece upwards. Then most of the other piece of the wings will actually follow automatically as you turn. But there's also 2 pieces that actually you have to do it manually. One is this top piece right here, which you have to move upwards, and the second one is the bottom piece right here that's actually moved downward. And after that, you're done. The wing gimmicks is actually done really great, and most of the work is actually done automatically with just one movement. Next we have is the shoulder, the mouth of the broken, and also the protect Gao can actually be open and you can see this tube-like item inside. Now that's all there is to it for now, and it doesn't really do anything other than having its mouth open. But this is actually for putting on one of the pieces for the option set that will come out later, but we'll cover more in the option set review. For the right hand, you can actually reconstruct the broken magnum by pulling out the wrist section out, and you should see a gear-like item sticking out to the hand. Now if you don't see the gear part and only see the ball joint, then you're actually doing it wrong. I suggest you hold on to the hand where the ball joints are instead of holding the fingers or the inner of the hands and then pull it out. That should actually pull the hand as well as the wrist part together. As for the left hand, if you actually push the hand inwards, then the red panels will actually pop out to form the protect shed, which is absolutely fantastic on this gimmick. And you can actually close the panel by doing the reverse of pulling the hands outward. Now just a note on this, do not directly push the panel back to its former spot. Otherwise, you'll break the panels. Always use the hand for this gimmick. As for the legs, the 2 side pieces on each leg can actually slide down a bit. Now this is useful because a lot of times other robots, if you spread the legs, usually half the feet is off the ground and it looks kind of weird. However, for this, you can actually slide the other side down to cover it, which looks so much better and it's a brilliant idea. Now let's replace the hands with the Hell in Heaven set and see how it is. Here we have is the separated Hell in Heavens ready for it, and it actually looks really great. However, I recall in the anime these fingers are a lot longer and thicker than it is right now. But the current one is still looking really great. Just that I hope they actually make it even bigger. But that's just my preference. Lastly, let's put on the combined one. First, we must make sure that the main of the galleon is actually shifted upwards and also not blocking the hands to bring it forward. And afterwards, put onto the hands, and here we go. It's the Hell in Heaven in motion. And this absolutely looks very sick. Moving on, we have is the stand. Now the stand is actually just a block of plastic with many holes without any details on it. These holes are for you to put the arms onto it. For example, we have the big pole that's actually for supporting the main body, and there's actually 5 big holes which you can actually put onto. 4 of them are on the sides, and 1 is near the center. Now the other small hole is for the small pole, which is actually for holding the broken magnum. Now you remember the gear looking piece? That's actually for sticking into the pole for you to display it when the broken magnum is flying out. Honestly though, I think the base stand is actually way too big for this piece. Now this is not written in the manual instruction, but if you're like me who thinks the stand is way too big, you can actually reduce the footprint by removing the center piece, pop it out from the bottom. And you can see right now that it's actually in 2 pieces. So you can actually use the smaller piece for the stand and leave the rest on its own. Obviously you lose the amount of holes on the bigger piece, but at least you can fit into your display shelf. As for conclusion, what do I think about this piece? This piece looks absolutely great, and the painting is done very well. You can definitely feel the powerful image based on the gold and metallic colors on it. Not to mention that the movement is amazing. Again, I would say it's one of the best, if not the best movement that I've reviewed so far. So definitely a kudos on that. However, there are a couple things that I don't like. One is the box, which looks very cheap and very unprofessional, but I'm not going to deduct any points on this, but it's just for your awareness only. Again, if you didn't know this and you received yours, you might probably think that you got ripped off by receiving a fake one. So just to re-emphasize again only. Second is the lack of accessory here that greatly hurts this piece. Now I knew they are going to release an option set way before, but I always had an expectation that they will at least have 1 or 2 accessories like the wheel knife coming in from the Gadget Gao's head, even if it's a thin blade, or the bolting driver. Either one of those I'm actually okay with it. However, we had none of those, but instead only 2 versions of the Hell in Heaven hands. Third is the lighting. Being one of the selling point of this piece, you can't really see any of the lighting on the head other than a very dim G-stone. So all you can see is actually the galleon's eye and also the mouth. But even so, it's not very bright, which is extremely disappointing. Also, the cost of this is quite expensive as well for what it is. If this piece was actually fully able to separate into their own and at this price, then it's actually understandable. But not being able to separate and this little amount of accessories seems not worth the original price. Now the reason why I think this piece isn't worth the original price is based on the fact that this piece is actually cost 45,273 yen excluding sales tax, while the Sentinel's final Dankuga is just 45,000. You may think that it's relatively the same in price, but you have to remember the final Dankuga can actually separate into their own vehicles and each of them can actually transform. Not to mention that the final Dankuga package comes in both the Dankuga itself and also the Black Wing. So basically you got 2 products in one package, and it's still slightly cheaper than this. So with that, I'll actually rate this piece an 8 out of 10. Now don't be let down though, this piece looks amazing, just that I don't really think that it's worth the price that it is right now. Maybe when the option set is out, then we can actually revisit this to see if it's actually worth it. But as for now, I think it's actually a little bit overpriced. Now the option set is set to be 16,500 yen and it's set to be released on 2022 January. So we have almost a little under a year to wait for this. Hope they won't let us down. That's it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it and find it useful. As always, do support me by hitting that like button and also subscribe to my channel for more videos. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.